The cargo ship Steadfast Hope was old and tired. It moved slowly through the empty space between two great empires that hated each other. The Helix Confederation on one side, the Empire on the other. 300 years of war and anger separated them. The human ship was just passing through, carrying food and medicine to a small colony that needed help. Park walked through the dark hallways of the ship. He was 26 years old, born on a mining colony called New. His father had been a miner. His grandfather had been a miner, had broken the family tradition by becoming a security guard on a cargo ship. It was not an exciting job. He checked doors. He looked at screens. He made sure nobody stole the medicine they were carrying. Tonight was like every other night. The ship hummed quietly around him. Most of the crew was sleeping, held his flashlight in one hand and walked toward Cargo Bay 7. It was the last stop on his patrol route. The bay was cold and dark. Large metal boxes sat in neat rows, filled with supplies for the colony. Swept his light across the room, checking the corners like he always did. Everything looked normal. Then he heard it. A small sound, like someone crying very quietly and trying to stop. Froze, his hand moved to the gun on his belt. Stowaways were rare but dangerous. Sometimes criminals hid on cargo ships. Sometimes worse things hid on cargo ships. He moved slowly toward the sound. It came from behind a stack of thermal boxes near the back wall. His heart beat fast in his chest. He pulled out his gun and pointed it forward. "Come out," he said. His voice was steady even though his hands were shaking a little. "Come out now, slowly." For a moment, nothing happened. Then a figure stepped out from behind the boxes. Almost dropped his gun. It was a woman, but she was not human. Her skin was pale violet, soft like flower petals. Her hair was silver and seemed to float around her head like she was underwater. She was thin and tall, wearing torn clothes that might have once been beautiful. But it was her eyes that made forget to breathe. They were gold, pure gold, and they were filled with more fear than he had ever seen in anyone. She raised her hands slowly. They were shaking. "Please," she whispered. Her voice was soft and musical but broken with terror. "Please do not tell anyone I am here." Stared at her. His training told him exactly what to do. Unknown alien on a human ship. Report immediately. Call the captain. Follow protocol. This was not his problem to solve. This was far above his level. But those golden eyes held him in place. "Who are you?" he asked. He did not lower his gun, but he did not shoot either. The woman swallowed hard. I was." She stopped and took a shaky breath. "I am the third princess of the empire." Felt his stomach drop. They were one of the most powerful species in the galaxy. They lived for thousands of years. They had technology that made human ships look like toys, and they did not like humans very much. "A princess," he repeated slowly. "On my ship, hiding behind boxes." "Yes," his voice cracked. 3 days ago my father the Emperor was murdered. My sisters were killed too. The High Admirals planned it all. They wanted war. My father wanted peace, so they killed him." Tears ran down her violet cheeks. "They are hunting me now. If they find me, they will kill me too. But first they will make it look like humans did it. They will use my death to start a war that will burn across the whole galaxy." Listened. His gun felt heavy in his hand. "Why should I believe you?" he asked. Looked at him with those golden eyes. "You should not," she said quietly. "You do not know me. You have no reason to trust me. I am asking you to risk everything for a stranger. It is not fair. It is not reasonable." She paused. "But I am asking anyway, because I have nowhere else to go." The smart thing to do was obvious. Report her. Let the captain decide. Let the politicians figure it out. Was nobody. He was a security guard from a mining colony. He had no power, no connections, no importance. What could he possibly do? But he thought about his mother. She had always said that a person's worth was measured by what they did when no one was watching. She said that kindness was not kindness if you only showed it when it was easy. This was not easy. looked at the princess. She was alone, she was scared. She had lost her entire family in 3 days, and she had come to him, a stranger, because she had no other choice. He thought about what would happen if he reported her. The military would come, they would take her, they would kill her, and then they would start their war anyway and millions would die. He thought about what would happen if he helped her. He would be breaking about 50 different laws. He would be risking his career, his freedom, maybe his life. And for what? For someone he had just met. Lowered his gun. "Okay," he said. Blinked, "Okay. I will help you." The words came out before he could stop them. "I will not tell anyone you are here. I swear it. On my life, I swear it." The princess stared at him like he had just grown a second head. You do not even know me. Why would you do this?" Thought about it. He was not sure himself. Maybe it was the fear in her eyes. Maybe it was the way she had asked instead of demanded. Maybe it was just the way his mother had raised him. "Because you asked for help," he said simply. "And where I come from, if someone asks for help and they are not hurting anyone, you help. That is just how we do things." His golden eyes filled with fresh tears, but these were different tears, not fear, something else. "I have lived for 400 years, she whispered. "I have met thousands of beings from hundreds of species. No one has ever said anything like that to me before." Felt uncomfortable. He was not good with emotional moments. "Well," he said awkwardly, "now someone has. Come on. I know a place where you can hide. It is not comfortable, but it is safe." He led her through the dark hallways of the ship, avoiding the cameras and the other patrol routes. His heart pounded the whole time. If anyone saw them, it was over. But no one did. He brought her to a small maintenance behind the engine room. It was cramped and warm and smelled like machine oil. Not a place for a princess, but it was hidden. "I will bring you food and water," said. "Twice a day. Do not make any noise. Do not leave this space. I will figure out what to do next." Grabbed his hand. Her fingers were cool and soft. "Thank you," she said. "I do not know how to thank you enough." Looked down at her hand on his. He felt something strange in his chest, something he could not name. "Just stay alive," he said. "That will be thanks enough." He left her there in the darkness and walked back to his patrol route. His hands were still shaking. His mind was racing. He had just made a promise that could get him killed. He had just changed the entire direction of his life. And somehow, deep in his heart, he knew he had made the right choice. The galaxy was about to change. And it all started with a whisper in a cargo bay and a simple human who decided to keep his word. 3 weeks passed on the steadfast hope. 3 weeks of lies and secrets and constant fear. Became a different person during those weeks. He smiled at his while his stomach twisted with worry. He joked with the cook while stealing extra food. He told his commanding officer that he was working double shifts because he wanted to save money for his mother. Every word was a lie. Every day was a risk. But he did not stop. Twice a day, he visited the maintenance behind the engine room. He brought food wrapped in cloth. He brought water in bottles he had taken from storage. He brought blankets when the nights got cold and medicine when got sick from the bad air. At first they did not talk much, was too scared and was too nervous. But as the days passed, the silence became uncomfortable. So they started talking. Told him about her home. The empire was old, she said, older than human civilization. Her people had built great cities when humans were still living in caves. They had traveled between stars when humans were still learning to make fire. They were proud of this. Too proud sometimes. "We believe we are better than everyone else," said one night. Her voice was soft in the darkness. "We live for thousands of years. We have technology and power, so we think we have the right to rule." She shook her head. "My father did not believe this. He thought that wisdom was not about how long you lived. It was about how well you understood others." "He sounds like a good man," said. "He was," his voice broke a little. "He was the best of us. That is why they killed him." Learned about the war too. The military leaders wanted to conquer more territory. They wanted to crush the Helix Confederation and take their resources, but the Emperor had refused. He had been working toward peace instead. Secret talks, trade agreements, small steps toward ending 3 centuries of hatred. The military leaders could not accept this, so they acted. They killed everyone, whispered. My father, my mother, my 2 older sisters, everyone who supported peace. In one night they destroyed everything my family had built. Her hands clenched into fists. And now they want me, the last one, the final loose end. Did not know what to say. He had grown up on a mining colony. His biggest problem had been deciding whether to follow his father into the mines or find his own path. He could not imagine watching his whole family die in one night. So he did not say anything. He just sat with her in the darkness and let her talk. As the weeks passed, started asking about him too. She wanted to know about humans, about Earth, about the strange, short-lived species that had appeared in the galaxy only a few centuries ago. Your people fascinate me, she said one evening. The plan in centuries. We think about what will happen in 1,000 years, but humans. She looked at him with curious golden eyes. You live for such a short time, 80 years, maybe 90. That is nothing to us. It is like a single breath. Shrugged, I guess we just do not have time to wait around. But that is exactly it, leaned forward. You do not wait, you act, you commit. You make decisions in moments that we would debate for decades. She shook her head slowly. You barely know me. We met 3 weeks ago, and yet you have risked everything, your career, your freedom, your life for a stranger. You needed help, said simply. That is not how it works anywhere else in the galaxy. His voice was almost a whisper now. Nowhere, no species would do what you have done. They would calculate the risks. They would consider the benefits. They would think about what they could gain. She reached out and touched his hand. You just helped because I asked. Felt his face grow warm. He was not used to being praised. He was not used to being noticed at all. He was just a guard, just a nobody from a mining colony. My mother always said that kindness is not kindness if you only show it when it is easy, he said. I guess I just listened to her. Smiled. It was the first time he had seen her smile. It changed her whole face, made her look younger, made her look alive instead of just surviving. I would like to meet your mother someday, she said. Smiled back. She would like you. She always wanted me to bring home someone interesting. They both laughed. It felt strange to laugh when everything was so dangerous, but it also felt good, like a small light in a very dark room. During those weeks also taught things. He taught her the card games he had learned on the mining colony. He taught her how to play Go, an ancient game from Earth that his grandfather had loved. She was terrible at it at first, but she learned fast. In return, taught him poetry. Her language was musical and strange, with sounds that human throats were not meant to make, but tried anyway. He practiced the words until his jaw hurt, laughed at his pronunciation, but it was a kind laugh, a warm laugh. Something was growing between them. Neither of them said it out loud, but they both felt it, a connection, a bond, something that had started with a promise in a cargo bay and was becoming something more. Then, on the 22nd day, everything changed. Was on the bridge when the alarm sounded. A warship had appeared on their sensors. It was 10 times the size of the Steadfast Hope. Its weapons could destroy them in seconds. They are hailing us, said the communications officer, a young woman named. Her voice was shaking. Captain, a weathered woman who had seen 3 wars, nodded slowly. Put them through. An officer appeared on the screen. He was tall and pale blue with cold silver eyes. His uniform was covered in medals. Human vessel, he said. His voice was like ice. We are conducting a routine inspection. You will allow our boarding team access to your ship. This is not a request. Captain's face did not change. Under what authority? We are in neutral space. Under the authority of the High Admiralty, the officer smiled. It was not a nice smile. "We are searching for a dangerous fugitive, a terrorist who has committed crimes against the Empire. She may be hiding on human vessels. You will cooperate or you will be destroyed." The transmission ended. His blood turned to ice. They knew, somehow they knew. He looked at Captain. She was staring at the screen with hard eyes. "Prepare for boarding," she said quietly. "And someone tell me why I have a feeling that this is about to become very complicated." Did not wait, he ran. He ran through the hallways of the ship, his heart pounding so hard he thought it might explode. He reached the maintenance and pulled open the hidden panel. Was already awake. She had heard the alarm. Her golden eyes were wide with terror. "They found me," she whispered. "Not yet," grabbed her hand. "But they will. They are going to search the whole ship. This place will not hide you for long." "Then it is over." His voice was flat, dead. "I should turn myself in. Maybe they will leave your crew alone." "No," the word came out hard and fierce. "No, I made you a promise. I'm not breaking it. You cannot fight a warship. You cannot." "I am not going to fight." He took a deep breath. "I am going to do something stupid." Before she could argue, he pulled her out of the and started leading her through the ship, not toward a hiding place, toward the bridge. "What are you doing?" demanded. "I am tired of hiding," said. "I am tired of lying. I am tired of being afraid." He looked at her with steady eyes. "It is time to find out who we can trust." They reached the bridge just as the boarding team was docking. Every crew member turned to stare at them. At the human guard holding hands with an alien woman with violet skin and golden eyes. Captain looked at them for a long, long moment. "Private Park," she said slowly, "would you like to explain why you are holding hands with a princess on my bridge?" Stood straight, his voice did not shake. "Captain, this is Princess of the Empire. She is asking for asylum, and I have sworn to protect her." The bridge was silent. Captain stared at him, then back at him. "Private Park," she said, "do you understand what you have done?" "Yes, ma'am," he met her eyes. "I have chosen a side." Another long silence. The boarding team was getting closer. Everyone could hear their footsteps in the corridor. Then Captain smiled. It was a small smile, a dangerous smile. "Good," she said. "So have I." She turned to Officer. "Get me Terran High Command. Tell them we have a guest, and tell them we are not giving her up." The galaxy was about to learn what happened when humans made promises. They kept them. The story spread across the galaxy like fire through dry grass. A small human cargo ship had refused to hand over a princess. When the boarding team tried to take her by force, the crew of the Steadfast Hope had fought back. 17 humans with old weapons and no military training had held off elite soldiers for 6 hours. 6 hours. The soldiers had better armor, better guns, better training. They should have taken the ship in minutes, but they had not expected what they found. They had not expected humans. Every time the soldiers pushed forward, the crew pushed back. They used the ship itself as a weapon. They closed doors on the soldiers. They filled hallways with smoke. They fought in ways that made no tactical sense, taking risks that should have killed them. Private Park led the defense. He was not trained for combat. He was a security guard who checked doors and watched screens. But when the soldiers tried to reach the bridge where was hiding, he stood in their way. "You will have to kill me first," he told them. They tried, they really tried, but would not go down. He took a shot to the shoulder and kept fighting. He took a hit to the leg and kept standing. He fought like a man possessed, like a man who had made a promise and would die before breaking it. The soldiers had never seen anything like it. When the Terran Navy patrol finally arrived, the Steadfast Hope was badly damaged but still flying. Half the crew was wounded, 3 were dead, but the princess was safe. And the galaxy had noticed. News stations across every inhabited system played the footage. They showed the tiny human ship facing down a warship. They showed the crew fighting against impossible odds. They showed, covered in blood and barely standing, refusing to surrender. "This is madness," one commentator said. "These humans are insane. They cannot possibly win against us." "Perhaps," replied his human colleague, "but they do not seem to care about winning. They seem to care about keeping their word." The commentator had no response to that. Princess was taken to Earth. The Terran government gave her protection and a platform to speak. She addressed the Galactic Assembly, the great council where representatives from every major species gathered to discuss the future of civilization. Stood before them all. She was small and alone on that massive stage, but her voice did not shake. "I am third princess of the Empire," she began. "3 weeks ago, my father, the Emperor, was murdered by his own military leaders. My mother was killed. My sisters were killed. Everyone who wanted peace was killed. I am the last survivor of my family." She presented evidence, communications between the conspirators, records of secret meetings, proof that the military leaders had planned the murders for months, proof that they intended to blame humans for her death and use it to start a war that would kill billions. The assembly listened in stunned silence. "I escaped," continued. "I hid on a human cargo ship. I was found by a security guard named Park. He was a young man with no power and no importance. He had nothing to gain by helping me. He had everything to lose." She paused. Her golden eyes swept across the assembly. "I asked him not to tell anyone I was there. I begged him to help me, and do you know what he did?" Her voice grew stronger. "He looked at me, a stranger from a species that has treated his people with contempt for centuries, and he said, 'I will protect you. I swear it.'" His voice cracked slightly, but she kept going. "I have lived for 400 years. I have seen empires rise and fall. I have met leaders and warriors and philosophers from 100 different species, but I have never seen what I saw in that cargo bay." She took a breath. "A young man with nothing chose to risk everything because someone asked him for help, not for money, not for power, not for glory, just because it was the right thing to do." She turned to face the human delegation directly. "This is what humanity offers the galaxy, not their weapons, not their technology, not their military might, their character, their stubborn, impossible, beautiful willingness to do what is right even when it costs them everything." The speech was broadcast to every inhabited world. Billions of beings watched. Billions of beings heard the story of the human guard who had sworn a vow to protect a princess he had just met. The reaction was immediate. Protests erupted. Citizens who had supported the emperor demanded justice for his murder. Military units loyal to the old regime began to organize. The conspirators had expected a quick war to distract everyone from their crimes. Instead, they faced rebellion from within. The Helix Confederation, which had been neutral toward humans for centuries, sent a message to Earth. They wanted to talk about an alliance. They had been impressed by what they had seen. Other species reached out too. The Collective, a small species that humans had helped during a plague 30 years earlier, offered their entire fleet in support. "You saved us when no one else would," their ambassador said. "Now we will stand with you." Even the mysterious architects, ancient beings who had not spoken to anyone in 10,000 years, made a single statement: "We remember kindness." Did not understand any of this. He was just a guard. He had done what he thought was right. He had not expected the galaxy to care. But they cared. Oh, how they cared. Reporters wanted to interview him. Politicians wanted to meet him. Military leaders wanted to give him medals and promotions and positions of power. He refused everything. "I am not a hero," he told the reporters who followed him everywhere. "I am just a man who made a promise, that is all." "But you changed history," one reporter insisted. "You started a movement. Species that have been afraid of for centuries are standing up now, all because of what you did." Shook his head. I did not do anything special, I just did not break my word. The reporter stared at him like he was speaking a foreign language. Meanwhile was adjusting to life on Earth. She had never been to a human world before. Everything was strange to her. The food, the music, the way humans lived their short lives with such intensity. Stayed by her side. He had been offered positions in the military, in the government, in a dozen different organizations that wanted to use his sudden fame. He turned them all down. I was a security guard, he told when she asked why. Now I am your security guard. That is enough for me. Is it? Looked at him with those golden eyes that he had first seen in a cargo bay. Is it really enough? Thought about it, he thought about everything that had happened. The hiding, the fighting, the speeches and the fame and the politicians who wanted to shake his hand. Then he looked at the woman who had whispered, "Please don't tell anyone I'm here," while trembling with fear. At the woman who had lost everything and still found the strength to stand before the galaxy and tell the truth. "More than enough," he said quietly. Smiled, she reached out and took his hand. Her fingers were cool and soft, just like they had been that first night in the cargo bay. "You know," she said, "in culture, when someone saves your life, you owe them a debt that can never be fully repaid. You are bound to them forever." Felt his face grow warm. "That sounds serious." "It is, very serious." Smile grew wider. "But I think I do not mind being bound to you, Park." He did not know what to say. He was not good with words. He was not good with feelings. He was just a guard from a mining colony who had somehow ended up in the middle of galactic history. But he knew what he felt, and for the first time he let himself feel it. "I do not mind either," he said. Outside, the galaxy was changing. Old enemies were becoming allies. Old fears were becoming hopes. A new age was beginning, sparked by a promise made in a dark cargo bay. And at the center of it all, a human guard and an alien princess held hands and looked toward a future that neither of them had ever imagined. The military leaders made their move 6 months after speech to the Galactic Assembly. They had no choice. Their coup was falling apart. Citizens were protesting in the streets of every major city. Loyalist military units were defecting to his cause. The conspirators were losing control of their own empire. So they did the only thing they could think of. They declared war on humanity. "The Terran Federation is harboring a criminal fugitive," the new High Admiral announced. "They have interfered in our internal affairs. They have attacked our soldiers. For these crimes, there can be only one punishment." Thousands of warships powered up their engines. The largest military force in galactic history began moving toward human space. The conspirators expected humanity to surrender quickly. The Terrans were young and weak. Their fleet was small. Their colonies were scattered across distant stars with little protection. They had conquered species for longer than humans had existed. They expected fear. They expected panic. They expected humans to hand over the princess and beg for mercy. They were wrong. When the war declaration reached Earth, something strange happened. Something they had never seen before. Humans got angry. Mining colonies that had never seen combat sent volunteers by the thousands. Scientists who had been working on farming projects switched overnight to weapons research. Factory workers doubled their shifts to build ships and guns. Civilians sold their homes to buy military equipment for their children who had enlisted. The Terran government did not have to force anyone to fight. They had to turn people away. There were too many volunteers, too many humans who wanted to stand up and say, "No, we will not let you take her. We will not let you win." Admiral, the commander of the Terran Defense Fleet, was asked by a reporter why so many humans were willing to die for one princess. "You do not understand us," the admiral replied. "You think this is about politics. You think this is about territory or resources or power." She shook her head. "This is about a promise. One of our people made a promise to protect someone who needed help. Now the whole galaxy is trying to make him break that promise. Her eyes hardened. We do not break promises, ever. The reporter did not know what to say. But humanity did not fight alone. The Helix Confederation joined the war on the second day. Their ambassador made a simple statement. We have watched the bully smaller species for 300 years. We have stayed quiet because we were afraid. We are not afraid anymore. The collective sent every ship they had. They were a small species with a small fleet, but they came anyway. Humans helped us when no one else would, their commander said. Now we will help them. Other species joined too. Species that had been conquered by in the past. Species that had been afraid to speak up. Species that had watched humanity stand against impossible odds and decided that maybe, just maybe, they could do the same. The war that was supposed to destroy humanity became the war that united the galaxy against tyranny. Park fought in 17 battles during the 2 years of war. He had never wanted to be a soldier. He was a security guard. He checked doors and watched screens. But when the war started, he enlisted in the Terran Marines. He could not ask others to fight for while he stayed safe. His first battle was a disaster. He was scared and confused and barely knew how to use his rifle. But he survived. He learned. He got better. By his 5th battle, other soldiers were following his lead. By his 10th, he was commanding his own unit. By his 15th, he was famous across the fleet. They called him the Guardian, the man who had started it all, the man who had sworn a vow and then fought to keep it. But did not care about fame, he cared about. She traveled with the loyalist forces, working to rally support against the conspirators. Wherever she went, followed. He was her shadow, her protector, her constant companion. The assassins came 3 times. The first time was on a transport ship. An agent had hidden among the crew. He got close enough to touch her before stopped him. The fight lasted 12 seconds. It ended with the agent unconscious and standing over him with bruised knuckles and cold eyes. The second time was during a diplomatic meeting. The assassin used poison, noticed the strange smell in his drink before she touched it. He knocked the glass from her hand and tackled her to the ground as the assassin revealed himself. 3 of soldiers took the killer down while shielded with his own body. The third time was the worst. It was at a peace conference on a neutral station. Representatives from a dozen species had gathered to discuss the war. Was giving a speech about her vision for the future when a suicide bomber burst through the doors. Saw the explosive strapped to the bomber's chest. He saw the detonator in the man's hand. He had maybe 2 seconds to act. He did not think, he moved. He threw himself on top of and covered her with his body as the bomb exploded. The blast threw them both across the room, felt fire and pain and then nothing at all. He woke up 3 days later in a medical bay. Half his body was covered in bandages. A machine beeped steadily beside his bed. Everything hurt. Was sitting next to him. Her eyes were red from crying. Her hands were holding his. "You stupid, stubborn human," she whispered when she saw he was awake. "You almost died. You almost left me." Tried to smile, it hurt. Made a promise, cannot break it. The promise was to protect me, not to die for me. Same thing sometimes. Made a sound that was half laugh and half sob. She leaned forward and pressed her forehead against his. Her skin was cool and smooth. Her tears fell on his face. "You impossible man," she said. "Do you know how scared I was? Do you know what I felt when I saw you lying there, not moving, covered in blood?" Lifted his hand even though it hurt. He touched her cheek gently. "I know," he said. "I felt the same way when I found you in that cargo bay, scared, desperate, willing to do anything." Pulled back and looked at him. Her golden eyes were filled with something deep and powerful. "I love you," she said. The words came out quiet but certain. "I do not know when it started. Maybe in the cargo bay. Maybe during those weeks of hiding. Maybe when you stood in front of those soldiers and refused to move. She squeezed his hand. But I love you, Park. I love you more than I have ever loved anyone in 400 years of living. Stared at her. His heart was pounding, but not from fear this time. I love you too, he said. I think I have loved you since you first asked me for help. I just did not know what to call it. Smiled through her tears. Then she leaned down and kissed him, soft and gentle and careful of his injuries. Outside the medical bay, the war continued. Ships battled in the darkness between stars. Soldiers fought and died on a dozen different worlds. The future of the galaxy hung in the balance. But in that small room, a human guard and an alien princess held each other and knew that whatever happened next, they would face it together. The war would end soon. The conspirators would fall. A new age would begin. And at the center of it, all would be the love that had started with a whisper in a cargo bay. Please do not tell anyone I am here. I swear on my life I will protect you. Some promises, once made, last forever. The war ended not with the defeat of the Empire, but with its rebirth. After 2 years of fighting, the conspirators found themselves trapped. Their own people had turned against them. Their allies had abandoned them. The combined forces of humanity, the Helix Confederation, the Collective, and the Loyalists surrounded them on every side. In the end, it was not a great battle that finished them. It was a simple uprising. Citizens on the stormed the government buildings. Soldiers who had followed the conspirators out of fear switched sides. The High Admiral who had started the war was arrested by his own guards. When the news reached the Allied fleet, there was no celebration. Too many had died. Too much had been destroyed. Victory felt heavy, not joyful. But there was hope too. A new future was possible now, and that future needed a leader. Did not want to be empress. She had never wanted power. She had been the third princess, far from the throne, happy to work quietly for peace without the weight of a crown. Her father had been the leader. Her older sisters had been the heirs. She had been free. Now they were all gone, and she was the last. You are the only one who can unite our people, her advisors told her. The loyalists follow you. The citizens trust you. Without you, the empire will fall into chaos and civil war. Knew they were right. She had known it since the day her father died, but knowing and accepting were different things. She was standing alone in a garden on the wind found her. The garden was beautiful, filled with flowers that glowed softly in the evening light, but its eyes were distant and sad. They want me to take the throne tomorrow, she said without looking at him. The ceremony is planned. The speeches are written. Everything is ready. Stood beside her. His wounds had healed mostly. He still walked with a slight limp from the bombing, but he was alive. They both were. You do not want to, he said. It was not a question. No, finally turned to look at him. Her golden eyes were tired. I have spent 2 years fighting for this moment. I have given everything. And now that it is here, I just want it to stop. I want to rest. I want to be ordinary. She laughed, but there was no joy in it. Is that selfish? Thought about it. He thought about his own life, about the mining colony where he grew up, about the simple dreams he had once had, about how everything had changed because he walked into a cargo bay at the wrong time. Or maybe the right time. No, he said finally, it is not selfish, it is human. He paused, or whatever the word is. Almost smiled. We do not have a word for it. We are supposed to want power. We are supposed to seek greatness. She shook her head. I never understood that. Maybe that is why you should be empress. Reached out and took her hand. The best leaders are the ones who do not want to lead. They do it because it needs to be done, not because they want glory. Looked down at their joined hands. Her violet fingers intertwined with his brown ones. 2 species, 2 lives, 1 future. Will you stay with me? She asked quietly. If I do this, will you be there? Every day, every moment, every hard decision and lonely night. I made you a promise, said. In a cargo bay a long time ago, I said I would protect you. I meant it then, I mean it now. He squeezed her hand. Wherever you go, I go. Whatever you face, we face together. That is my vow, forever. His eyes filled with tears, but she was smiling now, really smiling. Then I will do it, she said. I will be Empress, and you will be by my side. I was planning to stand behind you, actually. I am a guard. That is where guards stand. Laughed. It was the most beautiful sound I'd ever heard. No, she said. You will stand beside me. I am making it official. The coronation of Empress was the most watched event in galactic history. Representatives from every major species attended. Humans and stood side by side. Former enemies exchanged greetings and handshakes. A new age was beginning, and everyone wanted to witness it. Walked down the long aisle of the great hall wearing robes that had belonged to her father. They were heavy and beautiful and full of history. She carried herself like the queen she was about to become. And beside her, wearing ceremonial clothes that probably cost more than his family had earned in 10 generations, walked Park. He looked profoundly uncomfortable. His collar was too tight, his shoes pinched. Every important person in the galaxy was staring at him. He wanted to disappear. This is ridiculous, he muttered, just loud enough for to hear. Yes, she agreed serenely, not breaking her dignified stride. And yet here we are. I am a guard. I am supposed to stand behind you. You have stood beside me since the cargo bay. I am simply making it official. The ceremony was long and complicated. There were speeches and rituals and traditions that were older than human civilization. Understood maybe half of it. He just stood where he was told to stand and tried not to fidget. Then came the moment that would echo through history. Was crowned Empress of the Imperium. The crown was placed on her silver hair. The cheers rang out across the great hall. And then she did something that no Empress had ever done before. She turned to and extended her hand. I name Park as my imperial consort, she announced. Her voice carried to every corner of the hall. The human who saved my life, the man who stood between me and death, the guardian who kept his vow when all seemed lost. The hall went silent. A human as imperial consort. It was unthinkable. It was unprecedented. It was revolutionary. Felt every eye on him. He wanted to run away. He wanted to find a cargo bay and hide in it. Instead, he took his hand and stood beside her. The applause started slowly, first from the human delegation, then from the Helix Confederation, then from species all across the hall. Within moments, the great hall was thundering with cheers and celebration. But the moment was interrupted. A figure burst through the crowd near the back of the hall. A male, his face twisted with hatred. One of the last loyalists to the old regime. In his hand was a weapon, raised and aimed directly at the new Empress. Death to the traitor, he screamed. Moved before anyone else could react, faster than he had ever moved before. He grabbed the assassin's arm and twisted, disarming him with a technique that herself had taught him during their long weeks of hiding. The weapon clattered to the floor. The assassin crumpled, screaming in pain. Security forces swarmed forward to take the man away. The whole attack had lasted maybe 3 seconds. Simply straightened his ceremonial robes and returned to his place at side. His face was calm. His hands were steady. You were saying, he said quietly. Stared at him for a moment. Then she laughed, bright and joyful, and the whole galaxy laughed with her. The years that followed were called the Dawning Age. The Imperium and the Terran Federation formed an alliance that changed everything. Trade routes opened between species that had never talked before. Technology was shared freely. Scientists from 100 different worlds worked together on problems that had seemed unsolvable. The old hatreds did not disappear overnight. There were still conflicts, still disagreements, still species who clung to their old ways. Change was slow and difficult and often painful. But it happened. Slowly, surely, the galaxy became a better place. And at the center of it, All were empress in her imperial consort park. They had children eventually, 3 of them. Impossible children, born from the union of 2 species that should not have been able to create life together, but they were real and beautiful and loved. The oldest had her father's stubbornness and her mother's wisdom. The middle one had his mother's silver hair and his father's warm smile. The youngest had both their courage and none of their patience. Watched them play in the imperial gardens and felt something he had never expected to feel: peace. Real, deep, lasting peace. Was it worth it? A documentary crew asked him once years later. Everything you sacrificed. Looked at sitting beside him. At their children playing in the garden. At the galaxy that had changed because he made one simple choice in a dark cargo bay. I did not sacrifice anything, he said. I made a promise, I kept it, that is all. But you gave up your old life, your home, your plans for the future. I gained more than I gave up, he smiled, much more. Took his hand. Her skin was still cool and soft, even after all these years. That, she said quietly, is why humans will inherit the stars, not because you are stronger or smarter or more advanced, but because when you make a promise, you keep it, no matter what. The documentary ended with footage of and standing together on a balcony, looking out at the night sky filled with stars. 2 people from different worlds who had found each other in the darkest moment of their lives. 2 people who had changed the galaxy. Not with weapons or politics or grand speeches. Just with a whisper in a cargo bay and a vow that lasted forever. Please do not tell anyone I am here. I swear on my life I will protect you. And he did.